Greetings. I'm Clara Chu, and I would like to call the meeting to order. Before I begin, I wanted to state that accessibility is possible through closed captioning offered through Otter AI. If you look at your upper left, then you can select live streaming through this particular option. So I called the meeting of the annual business meeting of ASIS to order. I would like to begin today by recognizing and acknowledging that I join you virtually from the lands of the Peoria, Cascaya, Piankashaw, Wea, Miami, Massachusetts, Ottawa, Sauk, Meskwaki, Kickapoo, Potawatomi, Ojibwe, and Chickasaw nations. These lands were the traditional territory of these native nations prior to their forced removal. These lands continue to carry the stories of these nations and their struggles for survival and identity. So let me start by introducing others who join me and will be presenting. So Brian Detlor, who is president-elect, is not able to join us at this moment, but he will join us by video later. Then we have Ina Furi, treasurer, Deanna Hall, curator, Lydia Middleton, executive director, also in attendance, Steve Harden, parliamentarian. Now I will ask Lydia to describe the way that the meeting is going to work.
Now I've got to unmute myself. Greetings, everybody. Welcome to the meeting. So a few Zoom things that are good to know about the way this meeting is going to work. If you haven't been on enough Zoom calls already and already know this, we recommend that you watch the meeting in speaker view. That is the best way to get add myself here, get the full experience of who's talking and not having to try to track somebody down on the gallery view. And I will make a point of spotlighting the people that are speaking. So in the screen share, you should be able to see them. We are muting all attendees as they enter. There's oddly one participant on here I can't seem to mute, but in any event, most people are muted. And you will be able to unmute yourself if you have a question. So the way we're going to handle questions is in the participants tab. If you click on participants in the bottom right, you should have an option to raise your hand. And that will put a little blue hand up next to your name in the participants column. And when we get to the Q&A period, we will call on you. We'll ask you to unmute yourself. You'll be able to ask your question. And then we'll mute you again after we've done all the question and follow-up if you have any follow-up. So that is essentially all you need to know. As Clara mentioned, we are running this closed caption on Otter, so you should be able to access that if you need it. And we will also save the transcript after the fact. We are also recording this meeting, so if you want to watch it at a later time, you can, or if you want to share it with your colleagues at a later time, you can. So Clara, I think that covers it.
Thank you, Lydia. So I will now share my screen. Okay. So I'd like to do my president's report. I close out a year unlike any other in history, a period of uncertainty due to the COVID-19 pandemic, which has magnified our inequities and differences while drawing on our resiliency, creativity, and our shared intellectual and social capital. I've been honored to serve as 2019-20 ASIS president, aiming to strengthen and expand our community and advance our interests. In my candidacy statement, I pledged, and I quote, "As president, the values I will bring to navigate the future course of ASIS are diversity. Our membership reflects our global information society. Inclusion, our association is intentional in engaging all voices. Collective impact, our work is cross-sector and multidisciplinary to achieve our mission. Ethics of care, our association membership is connected and interdependent. And sustainability, our association has the resources to thrive and envision ASIS as the touchstone for information practice, research, education, and professional development to build a sustainable world and change lives. As you can see, this is aligned with my superhero persona, which is part of our teamwork as the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign Library. Thus, this past year, I've invited the ASIS community to join me in advancing a three-pronged plan for organizational and social transformation. I called it We Are ASIS, Be, Belong, Become, a conceptual approach informed by the early years learning framework, as well complementing it with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals to guide this year's conference theme and association activities, information for a sustainable world, addressing society's grand challenges. So thus this year, I've invited all of you, the ASIS community, to join me in advancing this three-pronged plan, and which has focused on be, belong, and become. And what are some of these opportunities that we had this past year to be? And so I start off with the ASIS conference. We anticipated that the 2020 annual meeting would be in Pittsburgh with the theme that we have. However, it became clear that the conditions of the COVID-19 pandemic would not permit a safe in-person meeting. We thus made the decision to hold it virtually. Our inaugural virtual conference has provided safer and greater access across the globe and the opportunity to join locally while connecting globally, and to continue to engage with the rich content beyond the conference through our recordings. In addition, I introduced two new series, Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion, Accelerator Series, and the Industry Series. The ASIS Uncommons, a space for SIGs and others to showcase and engage and collaborate. The emphasis on Accelerator for the EDI, Equity, Diversity, Inclusion series, is to go beyond our ASIS diversity statement and introduce the issues and ways to advance EDI in all realms of our work, now and not because we don't have the knowledge or resources to do so. Keynote speaker Human Haddad, head of emerging technologies at the United Nations World Food Program, which received the 2020 Nobel Peace Prize, spoke about depoliticizing information through blockchain. As founder of the Building Blocks Project, the world's largest humanitarian assistance program, he elaborated on harnessing the power of blockchain to foster interagency collaboration and create efficiencies. The President's Program focused on a meet and greet conversation on the infodemic during the COVID-19 pandemic. And the closing plenary will be on a call to action where our regional chapter representatives will be able to address how we advance sustainable development across the globe and how we can do this together collectively as well as individually. As we only have advancing the UN Sustainable Development Goals also was a connection that we made starting last year with my President's Advisory Group, Kendra Albright, Bharat Mehra, and Tina Du, where we led a full-day international incubator to develop and create transformational actions to advance the Sustainable Development Goals. So from this, we created these information action briefs that serve as catalysts for the information community to act locally or globally. And so you can see that these briefs there, where we've started with 4 of them, it focuses on how the SDGs can be addressed from our information context. And it also includes information and actions, as I indicated. As we only have a decade to act, the United Nations has launched a decade of action, and I invite the ASIS community to have your work recognized. And so we're calling for nominations where your work will be identified and recognized on the Information for Sustainability webpage on the ASIS website. And so you have some information here, but you can look for it also on our website. So what were some of those opportunities this past year where we sought a sense of belonging or a sense of connecting and identity? And so one of the things that we did is we wanted to be able to look at a past report that had been issued in 2016 to look at diversity and inclusion at ACES. The team that you see indicated and led by Anna Ndumu and Hamid Jamali, they did research and were able to now provide recommendations on how we can continue our equity, diversity, and inclusion work at the ACES. And that report is available, and I hope that you'll be able to read it and provide input. Also, to have a sense of belonging, we held ACES Hours, which were monthly virtual meetups to allow us to connect together and have a sense of community to discuss issues that were critical, whether these issues were the history of our association to the launching of our virtual conference. Then I also had the opportunity to connect with our members across the globe. I was able to join some regional meetings as well as attend conferences on behalf of ACES, and then prior to COVID-19, meet our members in person. So the third area, becoming and thriving, by a task force led by Brian Detlar, the new strategic plan has been developed and approved. And so we now have a plan which is going to guide our actions. And this roadmap is critical to ensuring that we are able to fulfill our vision of a community of researchers and practitioners who are the preeminent global voice of information, science, and technology. And also to be able to become, based on the conversations that we had around big ideas led last year by President Elaine Thoms at that time, then we talked about how ACES might provide an institute on emerging technologies. And so Dania Bilal, myself, and Su Young Rhee, as ACES board members at that time, we proposed a grant to the Institute of Museum and Library Services and have been able to receive it to be able to run for the next 2 years a 1-week intensive institute, which will then, after the grant, be continued by ACES. We also are starting to work even more closely with ALICE and the iSchools. We have been doing this work more informally in the last few years, but we have now signed a memorandum of understanding that has created the iFederation, as well as other opportunities to connect with other organizations. So this work would not have been possible without the work of many people. And so I want to thank first the 2019-20 board with whom I had the privilege of serving. Without you, we wouldn't be able to do the work to steward the association. And this work was also supported, led by Lydia Middleton, Executive Director, and her staff. And of course, the many committees and task forces that have been advancing the work of our association are critical, starting with the annual meeting program committee, the meeting reviewers, the equity, diversity, and inclusion task force, the strategic planning task force, and the ACES President's Advisory Group. Also, many of you who I'm not able to list out individually served on standing committees. And so I'd like to conclude by also thanking our sponsors and congratulating our award winners, where they will be recognized at a ceremony in December. And so this past year, I've been centering EDI in a sustainable world as my contributions as 2019-20 president. So I end with the opportunity to continue to serve you on the board led by Brian Detlar, and where we will be working together to advance the strategic plan and equity, diversity, and inclusion in alignment with that plan. And so with this, I hope to continue to engage with many of you, and I am thankful for the gift of community that's been part of being an ACES member and as I indicated, the honor of serving as your president. So thank you. We are ASIS, Be, Belong, Become. Now I'd like to present Ina Furi, who will present the Treasurer's Report.
Thank you, Clara. As Clara said, I will now talk about the Treasurer's Report. The financial year 2019 audit was approved by the board in June. At the end of financial year 19, we had a net reserve balance of 2.296 million. And compared to financial year 18, when we ended the year with a net reserve balance of 2.255 million. This was a net gain in reserves of $41,000, the first year in the last 3 that we have operated in the black, a considerable improvement. This was the result of sound fiscal management and significant cost-cutting measures, including reducing the number of staff. And I can also add that Lydia Middleton sort of played a major role in this, and I really want to thank you for this, Lydia. The financial year 20 fiscal year ended close to a break-even, due in a large part to the turbulence in the investment market caused by COVID-19. And additionally, we took a fairly substantial loss on the 2019 annual meeting in Melbourne. We have budgeted in modest net increase in reserves for the financial year 21 year, though I should note that we also received a payroll protection program loan from the US government of just over $100,000, which we will recognize in the financial year 2001, if and when the loan is forgiven, which we expect it will be. We project our reserve balances at the end of this fiscal year to be at least 2.3 million, which is close to 2 years operating expense. Carrying 1 year's operating expense in reserves is considered association industry best practice. Because we had this substantial reserve balance, the board is reviewing proposals that will utilize a proportion of the reserve balance to invest in creating new programs and services, such as reviving ARIST, creating a new online publication, launching new meetings, and so forth. The audited income statement is available in the Documents and Resources section of the ASIS website, which is under the About tab. If you would like more information on ASIS finances, please feel free to reach out to me or to Lydia Middleton. We are all happy to answer any questions you have. Again, I would just like to thank Lydia Middleton for her input in this and for her decisions and guidance in terms of the financial situation of ASIS. Thank you.
Thank you, Ina. I now would like to introduce Lydia, who will present her report.
Thank you, Clara. There was a question that came up in the chat. It was actually in the private chat. So that I wanted to address, and that was from June Abbas, who wanted to know why we got the loan from the US government. I thought I ought to take the finance questions now. It would just be easier to address that. So this was the Payroll Protection Act loan, part of the small business protection that the US government put into place. So for those of you that are in the US, you would remember a lot of discussion about this at the beginning of the pandemic as a way to help small businesses as a result of who are experiencing financial difficulties as a result of the pandemic. So we applied for that, as did pretty much every association that I'm aware of, and received $100,000, which essentially covers payroll for a set period of time and some other expenses. And those loans are to be forgiven by the government so long as the organization meets certain criteria, which includes not having to fire any staff during the time frame involved, and being able to document the expenses. And so when it's forgiven, then that will appear as revenue for us. At the moment, it's appearing as a payable on our books, but we fully anticipate it will be forgiven. The bank has not yet opened the portal to allow us to apply for forgiveness, so we're waiting for that to happen. June, did that answer your question? Let me unmute you there.
Yes, it did. Thank you very much.
Great. Okay, I'm going to change gears here a little bit. I got to share my screen. Thanks to all of you for bearing with us as we work through this technology. Okay, I'd first like to ask for a moment of silence to recognize those members that have passed in the last year. And I'm sure this is not a comprehensive list. These are the folks that we've heard about. I'd ask you to post in the chat if you're aware of anybody else, and just give us a moment to recognize those folks. Okay, thank you. All right, let me get to my PowerPoint here. All righty, so this is now my report to the membership as the executive director. I do this every year. And when we get to the end of the full meeting, we will have plenty of time for Q&A, and we'll address any questions that come out of this at that time. So in terms of the state of the association, I'm really happy to report that things are in good shape right now, recognizing that the last 8 months and the upcoming, I want to say 24 to 36 months are a big unknown. And all of this could change very rapidly. But right now we're in a good position, and I want us to celebrate that. But keep in mind that there is a lot that is very much unknown in the future, including the 2021 annual meeting, about which I've gotten a lot of questions over the last few days. The answer to what we will do for that meeting is we don't know. We have no idea what our hotel will let us do in terms of modifying that contract if necessary. We have no idea what the state of Utah and the city of Salt Lake City would let us do a year from now. So as soon as we have know more about that, we will certainly let you know. But I can tell you for sure that there will be some hybrid virtual option for that meeting, no matter whether we do it face-to-face or fully virtual. So that is where things stand on that. But in terms of the membership and its current status, we've seen a good increase in membership. We are up 6% from where we were in December of last year. A lot of that, of course, is thanks to the annual meeting. We had a lot of folks join as a result of that. So we're happy about that. But this is the first time we've really seen an increase in membership since I've been at ASIS. So we're excited about that. We still have a ways to go to get to the point we were at when I first got here, but we're making progress. And so we're very pleased with the direction we're going. Our bottom line, as Ina reported, is up significantly from a pretty considerable negative bottom line last year to a positive bottom line in FY18. So that is really great news for the association. It's great to be able to put some money towards reserves with a view to potentially investing some money from reserves over the next year. And I know Brian's going to talk about that in his remarks. Annual meeting attendance, not surprisingly, up a lot from Melbourne. We're up 85% from last year. We have close to 600 people attending either the meeting itself or the workshops and tutorials. That's a huge increase from last year. And this is actually numbers I pulled a few days ago. And we've had quite a few registrations since then. So not surprising that a lot more people can attend a virtual meeting, but really glad to get so many people from all over the world engaged in the meeting. More than 40 countries represented here. It's tremendous how much our exposure to folks around the world has increased by virtue of doing a virtual meeting. So you can rest assured that all meetings that ASIS does in the future will facilitate participation from folks all over the world. And then we're seeing, great member engagement. We've got 21% of our members participating as volunteers in some capacity. So whether they're serving on a committee or a SIG or a chapter or a task force. And this doesn't even count all the people that reviewed for annual meeting or that review for the JASIS papers and on that editorial board. These are just people that are working directly with ASIS on year-round activities. So we're really gratified by the fact that we have so many people involved. Huge increase in webinar attendance. That's as a result of a huge increase in the number of webinars we're offering. Plus, I think we're hitting on topics that are much more interesting to people. So 1,373 people attended a webinar in the last 12 months. That's phenomenal. We are working hard on increasing further the number of webinars and bringing in as much relevant content as we can, so that we're hitting all the issues that you all might have an interest in. Please, if we're not doing a webinar on something and you want to see us do a webinar on it, let us know. We will definitely look into ways that we can put on webinars on topics that are of interest to you. Website views up significantly over the last year. As you know, we rolled out a new website in the last 14 months, about 14 months ago. So that's getting a lot more traction, a lot more visibility. And JASIS is doing really well. Subscriptions up 15% and downloads up 29% over the prior year. So everything is going in the right direction right now. So we're really pleased with how things are going from that perspective. So I wanted to announce a few new things that are happening or about to happen. And we'll have more information about this coming out to you through our various communication vehicles. I can't say strongly enough how important it is that you read inside ASIS. That is the way that we communicate with the members. The most important things you need to know. We will also send out individual unique emails on topics, but Inside ASIS is really your go-to resource, and it's now archived on the website. I mean, it's always been archived on the website, but it's now much easier to find it on the website and much easier to work your way through it. So please make sure every month when that comes out, it comes out every 2 months. Every 2 months when it comes out, that you read it carefully and review it, because that's where your membership information will be updated. The biggest news will show up. But we have new stuff coming down the pike in terms of publications, membership, and events. So I want to touch on each of those. So this is a really exciting thing. This is the work of the Publications Committee over the last year. And this will be a new publication that comes online fairly soon. It's called Information Matters. It is a digital magazine or blog. We still haven't quite finalized exactly how we want to frame it, but it'll essentially be a digital platform for sharing news and views about information science, not about ASIS, but about information science. In many ways, it's going to fill the gap left by the bulletin when we sunset that, from the perspective that it will be, we hope, appealing to both practitioners and academics, and will translate work that's being done in the academic sphere into something that's very readable on the practice side. So whether it's JASIS articles or other things that we want to get out into the practice environment, we will use Information Matters as one way of doing that. It will be open to a variety of people to publish in. It will not be peer reviewed, but it will be editorially reviewed, and folks will have the opportunity to comment on things that are posted there. It'll be as global as we can make it. We will be seeking broad participation from all corners of the world to participate in that. And the real end game of this is that we expand the visibility of information science among folks around the world. This will not be, it'll be open access to everybody. It will be, we're going to push it hard on search engines so that it pops up readily for folks that are looking for information on information. And so the goal is to really expose the work that our members are doing to a broader audience and expose the importance of information science to a broader audience. And so we're aiming to get this off the ground by the summer of 2021 with a soft launch probably in the spring. So anybody that's interested in publishing in that and getting more involved, please do let us know. We're working right now on sort of writing a job description for an editor and we'll have an editorial advisory board. And so lots of opportunities there for member engagement. Many people have asked that we bring back ASIS&T, so that is also on our to-do list, and the ball is rolling for that. We have sent out a RFP to publishers on this, and we've gotten back the RFPs. We're just now, once the meeting is over, we'll be at the point where we can give closer attention to that and start moving it forward. It will be online only. We will not do a print version of it, and it will definitely be open access to all ASIS&T members. We don't know yet whether we can create a business model that will make it open access to everybody, but we are looking at that and working with the editors to figure out a way to potentially do that. And we're aiming to launch that by early 2023. You'll understand that it will take us a while to find an editor, come up with the content and so forth to get this one up and running quickly. So we're going to do that as soon as we can. In terms of membership, we have 3 new things happening on the membership side of things. So I want to make sure you're aware of those. The first one is our Distinguished Member Program. Our Distinguished Member Program. This is a program that we are announcing now and will be launching as soon as the meeting is over. This will be an opportunity for folks that have been members for a long period of time to get some recognition. To be eligible to be a distinguished member, you have to have been a member for at least 10 years, 10 consecutive years without a lapse in membership, have attended at least 10 annual meetings or other ASIS sponsored meetings like IA Summit or RDAP, one of those, have given significant service to ASIS, and there is a checklist of things you can have done in that category. And then once you're selected as a distinguished member, then you are renewed. You need to renew annually every 5 years. So we'll come out with more information about that, but this is an opportunity to recognize those folks that have given significant time and talent to ASIS&T over the years. It is not a selection process. It's simply a matter of meeting the criteria. And so again, we'll be out to all of you that are eligible based on our membership records in the next month or so, letting you know you're eligible for this and inviting you to apply. We've introduced several new dues payment options over the last year, and I want to make sure you're aware of those. One of them is that you can renew your membership for 2 years rather than just 1 if you would prefer. We can actually renew members in the professional and retired category for as many as 3 years. You just need to let us know. So with all of these, the easiest way to do it is to just call or email the ASIS&T office, let us change your membership category, and we'll send you a new invoice for that. But we've had some requests for that, and we're seeing an increasing uptick in folks that want to renew for a longer period of time. Members can also pay overtime now. It's possible to have a membership that auto charges on your credit card once a month. We do require that you put a credit card on file that's good for at least 12 months, but that is easily done. Again, if you have an existing membership and want to change to that, let us know in the office and we will switch your membership category over. And then I wanted to draw to your attention the affiliate institutional membership. This has actually been in existence for a couple of years, but we haven't had a lot of uptake on it. So I want to make sure you're aware of it. This is an opportunity for your institution to join as a member. And as a result of joining, that includes 3 professional memberships, of which at least 1 must be a new membership in ASIS. So you can convert 2 existing members to under this membership, but a 3rd one needs to be a new membership. And you can add students to the membership. Again, 1 existing student can be added, but you must add at least 4 as new folks. And then additional professional memberships, only $100, and additional student memberships, only $30. So this is a great way to bundle memberships for an institution. And then there are additional discounts that go along with that. So I want to encourage you to bring this idea to your institutions. It may be a good way to facilitate joining within your institution, as well as save some money overall for the institution. So wanted to make you aware of that. And then this is brand new, hot off the presses. The board just approved this last week at their board meeting. We are going to be waiving dues for the upcoming year for members in the World Bank low income tier of countries. What I've listed here are the countries that have ASIS members in them right now. There are actually about 50 countries on this list that are eligible. But going forward, new members will have a $0 dues amount, and renewals will have a $0 dues amount for members coming out of these countries. So this is pretty exciting. We think it will really expand membership in this area and give a lot more folks an opportunity to participate. We've had a lot of people at this annual meeting that have come in through SIG-III awards or awards through our anonymous donor, and then received scholarships to attend this meeting. And they've gotten incredibly involved very quickly in ASIS. So we're hoping that this will continue to pay dividends for us in the coming years. This is something we're able to do this year. We will reevaluate it every year based on the status of the budget and hopefully be able to continue this. But for the coming year, this is what we will be doing for members in those countries. So we hope that you spread the word and let other folks know about this. Our database isn't quite set up yet for it, so give us a few days to get it set up after the meeting, and then we'll start taking new applications. And then events, these are all on the drawing board right now, but these are some things that we are aiming to start from the events perspective. We're going to be putting on we think a 24-hour global conference. It may last a little more than 24 hours. It may look an awful lot like this annual meeting now, given that that's sort of what this has been. But what we're aiming to do is a conference that will go around the clock so that no matter what time zone you're in, at least a part of the conference will be in your time zone. And do it in conjunction with chapters and special interest groups, and create an opportunity for conversations around the world that happen in the time zone of the member as much as possible. So more to come on that. This is the Professional Development Committee is hard at work on that. They are also working on what we're calling right now an information summit. This would be a meeting that follows in the model of the IA Summit, and will probably, the topic will change every year, but it will be a topic of relevance both to the academic and the practice community. And so keep an eye out for that. We're probably looking at least 18 months from now before something like that gets launched. And then finally, the research committee, Research and Engagement Committee, is working on a research symposium. So that will be more of an intensive meeting over several days of academic and practice members to focus in on a single research topic. So those are all happening in the background right now, and more news will be coming down the pike about them as we get more meat on the bones. So I just want to again recognize the ASIS staff, without whom none of this would be possible. We are small but mighty. So many thanks go out to Terrence, Aminta, Kathy, and Nayanda for keeping the ball rolling. I just now realized I failed to put titles on all these people, so let me tell you who they are. Terrence, Director of Membership. I'm sure all of you have come across Terrence at some point. He is a phenomenal member of the team, has the most tenure at ASIS after me at this point. Aminta is our newest member of the staff. She is our administrative assistant and always available at the end of the phone call if you call ASIS office to answer any questions you might have. Kathy is our superstar meeting director, who without her, this event would not have taken place. And many kudos to her for turning on a dime and making a face-to-face meeting virtual, and not quite, but very nearly flawless. And so thank you a million times to Kathy. And then Nayanda is our accounting and office manager, and she keeps the books going and keeps the money flowing. And so again, none of this would happen without all of these phenomenal people who have been working around the clock for the last few weeks and tirelessly for the last 12 months to make all of what I've just told you about possible. So that, whoops, sorry about the thing I forgot to change there. That leaves me at the end of my remarks. And so I'm going to stop my screen share. I see a lot of things going on in the chat that I will read now. And I am going to mute myself so that I can call Deanna back, because Deanna called me in the middle of my remarks So Clara, if you could take over for a minute, I'm going to try and get Deanna on the phone, and I will let you know if I get her.
Actually, I have her on the phone. Yes. Can everyone hear her? So Deanna Hall is our curator. Catherine Labar served in this role previously, and the History Committee had introduced the idea for a report from the curator at our business meeting. So Deanna?
Yes, okay. Good morning, everybody. The power went off here in Stone Mountain, Atlanta, at 5 o'clock this morning, and it's not back on. And my phone has been misbehaving as well. So I'm glad to be finally connected. So first, I want to thank Brian for appointing me to the next 3-year term as ASIS second curator. I'm greatly honored by the appointment and am pleased to have the opportunity to contribute in this role. Second, I want to recognize my predecessor, Dr. Catherine Labar, ASIS' first curator, for the very great amount of effort and thought that she invested during her term as curator. She provided a detailed report of her work on Monday afternoon at the 4 p.m. session, titled ASIS Heritage and Information History, which was sponsored by SIG History and Foundations of Information Science. So you can hear her report there. I also want to say that Catherine has shared with me numerous documents, most particularly her inventory of the physical files at ASIS headquarters office. It is my intention to build on her work to the greatest extent possible. In the course of Catherine's term, there emerged the realization that there needed to be a working group which could serve in an advisory and assistive role to the creator. This concept was presented to the board at its July meeting by Michael Buckland, chair of the History Committee, and was approved. Consequently, when I was appointed curator, Catherine and I drew up the requirements for the persons who would be invited to apply for this office. The working group will consist of 4 ASIS members being drawn from the following 4 communities. First of all, archives, preference being given to a member who is a current or recent member of the Society of American Archivists. Second, records management, preference being given to a member who is a current or recent member of ARMA International. Third, history, a member of the History Committee. And fourth, knowledge management, a member of SIG-KM. The invitation for applicants to this working group was sent out through the open forum on iConnect on October 9. In addition, I'm going to set up a page for the curator on iConnect, and I will post this invitation there. I now issue an urgent invitation to all members who meet the requirements to submit your applications to be considered for appointment to this working group. The curator and this working group have the huge and urgent task of preserving both ASIS working history and its intellectual history, and making these accessible. Now let me end with a comment as to why this is important. On Monday, in Catherine's report, she quoted our own Michael Buckland, who says, "An organization that does not know its history does not know its identity." Therefore, if you haven't read our own Irene Farkas Kahn's book titled From Documentation to Information Science, The Beginnings of the American Documentation Institute and the American Society for Information Science, I urge you to do so. Furthermore, to just provide some more historical context, to those of you who have access to a research library, go sometime and just look at the 6 feet of shelves where the proceedings of the annual meetings of ADI, ASIS, and ASIST are housed, And consider this. They hold much of the core of the search magic that we in the 21st century exercise hour by hour in our daily lives. Therefore, we need to assure that we preserve ASIS and publicize ASIS' fundamental role in the emergence of the information age. I am committed as ASIS' second curator to that purpose. Thank you. And back to you, Clara.
Great. Thank you, Deanna. And now
You're welcome.
I'd like to introduce Jim Andrews, who will share with us news from the special interest groups.
Hello, everyone. I'm Jim Andrews. I have the honor to share with you the winners of the 2020 SIG Awards for this year. The SIG Member of the Year is an award to recognize outstanding service of an individual to the program of a particular SIG and for significant contributions to our membership. And this year's winner was Devendra Patnis from SIG III, International Information Issues. Congratulations, Devendra. Did some great work in his contributions, in particular to the International Paper Competition for 3 years. And that focused primarily on encouraging researchers from a number of developing countries to submit work. And he provided a lot of individualized feedback to each of those participants as well. And then the SIG Publication of the Year, that is to recognize the best publication produced by SIG or jointly by 2 or more SIGs during the previous year. And this year, the Publication of the Year goes to SIG III for their newsletter, which came out in March 2020 and was very well crafted and communicated across their group and beyond. And lastly, we have the SIG of the Year, and that is the award to recognize outstanding professional accomplishments and activities of an ASIS special interest group. And this year, the SIG of the Year award goes to SIG III, International Information Issues. They were really a highly effective and active SIG, going back to the annual meeting in Melbourne. They've done a lot of work retaining and recruiting members and various activities supporting their membership and the association, and have done a great job, I think, communicating across the group. So congratulations, please, to all of the award winners this year. Also, I would like to briefly recognize our outgoing SIG Cabinet Steering Committee members, 2 members, Felipe Mangione and Christian James, who are leaving the steering committee this year. Thank you all.
Thank you, Jim. Now I'd like to call on Sam Chu, who will introduce the chapter awards.
Thank you. I'd like to share my screen. Oh, okay. If I cannot share, it's okay. I'll just read it out then. Yeah. So I'm happy to announce the chapter awards for the year. Chapter of the year was awarded to our new South Asia chapter. That's very good. And student chapter of the year went to Simmons. And Europe chapter and the European student chapter together are big winners this year. Together, they won 3 awards. Chapter member of the year was given to Eileen Ihan. And chapter event of the year went to European Health Information Behavior event. And chapter publication of the year was awarded to the newsletter created jointly by Europe and European students. So congratulations. That's the end of my report.
Thank you, Sam. Now I'd like to recognize board members, and these board members are concluding their term. So we first have Jim Andrews, who represented the SIGs. Thank you, Jim. And then next we have Emily Knox, who finishes 3 terms as board at large. And then next we have Jim Andrews, who represented the SIGs. Thank you, Jim. And then next we have Emily Knox, who finishes 3 terms as board at large. And then next we have Jim Andrews, who finishes 3 terms as board at large. And then next we have Emily Knox, who finishes 3 terms as board at large. And then next we have Jim Andrews, who finishes 3 terms as board at large. And then next we have Emily Knox, who finishes 3 terms as board at large. And then next we have Jim Andrews, who finishes 3 terms as board at large. And then next we have Emily Knox, who finishes 3 terms as board at large. And then next we have Jim Andrews, who finishes 3 terms as board at large. And then next we have Emily Knox, who finishes 3 terms as board at large. And then next we have Jim Andrews, who finishes 3 terms as board at large. And then next we have Emily Knox, who finishes 3 terms as board at lar And then we also have Michael Olson, who is representative of the chapters. And then Sue Young Ree, who is finishing her 3 years as board member. And also she this year was on the executive committee. And then we thank Elaine Toms, who is finishing out her 3 years and is past president. So thank you to all of you who served on the board. I would now like to recognize the remaining members of the board that haven't yet been introduced. And then we have Agnes Menka, and also she has finished serving her 2nd year. And then Ana Maria Tamaro, and she has finished serving 1 year. So thank you to both. Now I'd like to recognize our incoming board members who will take office at the end of the annual meeting. First, we have Naresh Agarwal, and he is president-elect. Then we have Dan Wu, who is joining as member at large. And then we have AJ Million, who is joining as SIG director. And Sam Chu, who is joining as chapter director. So thank you to those of you who will also be serving on the board next year, and I look forward to working with you. Now I would like to introduce the video message that is being sent from Brian Detlor, president-elect.
Hello, everyone. This is Brian Detlor. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to serve as your president for next year, and the opportunity right now to speak to you, the membership. ASIS is a wonderful association, very proud to be part of it, and very humbly and honored to accept this position to serve as president. And I really hope I can do this to my best capacity. I want to first off, just by thanking Clara Chu. She did such an amazing job this year as president, which is good and bad because now I have some really big shoes to fill. She's a very hard worker, and thanks for handing over the reins to me with the association in such good shape. I also want to thank the association for allowing me to video record my presentation today. As some of you may know, my father recently passed away on last Sunday, and I've been busy dealing with logistics. My dad led a very good and long life. So it's not really sad, but it is sad and very difficult nonetheless. So I know he's looking down and proud of all his children. As I just proclaimed, ASIS is a wonderful association. I remember being a doctoral student back in the 1990s. My first conference was at an ASIS annual meeting. So this is my first entry into the academic world, going to an academic meeting. That was in Pittsburgh, 1998. And this is ironic because this virtual meeting today was supposed to happen in Pittsburgh. But I remember how it was to be a doctoral student, not having sufficient funds to fly from Toronto to Pittsburgh. So I remember snagging a ride with Dr. Charlie Meadow. He was a professor at the University of Toronto at that time, along with my good friend and fellow PhD student, Don Turnbull, who's helping out with next year's annual meeting. Thank you, Don. And that was my first introduction to ASIS, and it was a wonderful opportunity, a great experience. I remember feeling welcomed, and I was a little nervous at the beginning, not sure what to do. So I understand people who are attending today's annual meeting and who may not know people, and it's the first time going to an academic conference, how difficult that can be. But what I found about ASIS, and it was unique to other associations I explored, was that ASIS was very welcoming. And I think this acceptance of new members and just open arms is a concept that permeates ASIS today. This is what I think is so great about ASIS compared to other associations. It's a community of people who care, who are passionate about information, and welcomes newcomers into its fold. So let's talk about ASIS, its role, potential to influence society, and next steps. Importantly, the next steps during my term as president this upcoming year. Personally, I think the ASIS Association has an amazing and unique opportunity to influence society along information lines, to be the global association for information and all things that matter concerning information. And I think information is a key ingredient. It's a key fuel that drives decisions, opens up people's minds to new ideas and ways of thinking, influences people's behavior. So I think our association is well suited and positioned to really make a difference, not only in individual lives, but society as a whole. So this past year, I had the honor to serve as president-elect. And one of the main mandates of my term was to lead a strategic planning task force. And that task force was comprised shortly after the annual meeting in Melbourne. And we worked hard over several months producing a wide set of goals, objectives, and tactics that the board will pursue over its next 5 years. And during that process, we reached out to the membership for feedback. We consulted with the board several times. So I think what we have for our association is a really strong, amazing plan for the next 5 years that each president will use as a roadmap to get us as an association to our collective destination. So what we did, and I encourage all members to read the strategic plan. You can find it on the ASIS website. We created new mission and vision statements, declaring ASIS as an international association for both academic researchers and information professionals. So it's a strong mission statement to advance research and practice in information science and technology. And the vision is that the association comprises a community of researchers and practitioners, and to be the preeminent global voice of information science and technology research and its implications for practice. So I like this reshaping of mission and vision statements. It's moving I think it moves us ahead, and we get agreement collectively of who we are and where we want to be. Also in the strategic plan, we introduced vision or value statements. These value statements were originally developed by the board in 2019 and are now offered in the strategic plan for 2020-2025. It encapsulates values such as the interdisciplinary nature of the field, knowledge sharing, the goal for lifelong learning, striving for equity, diversity, inclusion, recognizing the impact of information science and technology on individuals, communities, and society. And last but not least, the idea of open access, where we recognize there's a balance to provide open access to the membership while still being concerned with financial considerations and benefits of membership that may run contrary to a full open access policy. So a lot of discussion happened at the board and the membership just to get these value statements identified and agreed upon, and establishing a common collective mission and vision statement. So again, I encourage you to read the strategic plan. It's structured along 3 lines. There's goals, which are long-term objectives, and then we have, or outcomes, I should say. And then there's objectives, near-term outcomes, and then tactics. These are specific actions, projects, and they are actually assigned to individuals or committees to be responsible for carrying out that work. So the idea here is we identify a long list of 39 tactics, the 4 goals, and they fall under 4 goals: support and engage and grow ASIS membership, improve ASIS publications, improve knowledge sharing opportunities, and develop and implement co-opetition opportunities with affiliate information associations, industry partners, and practitioner organizations. So I don't want to go over all the details of the 39 tactics. It would take way too long. I encourage you to read the report. But the ones that I think are important during my term and what I'm passionate about are things like ARIS, getting that off the ground and out the door. A focus on marketing. We don't really have a strong marketing initiative right now, but hopefully we'll run some campaigns in the next coming year and learn from them how to increase membership and how to market our association with a strong brand. We do want to increase our membership numbers. They've been steady over the last year, but I think we can do better. Also, the need for new journals and publication outlets such as Information Matters and new opportunities that generate funds. So the idea here is that each president will use the strategic plan to carry the association forward, and that there won't be any pet projects by a president, including myself, that falls outside that strategic planning identification of tactics, goals, and objectives. And I'm hoping, and I really want to, not just make this a plan for the board or myself as president or headquarters to carry out, but a plan for the whole association. I think many hands make light work, and I'm going to be putting out calls for volunteers over the course of the year to get those tactics implemented. And we need help. If everyone does a little bit, I think we can do a good job and do it collectively stronger than just having it all burden on a few individuals. I also want to, in my term as president, dip into our reserve fund. We have a very healthy reserve fund that should be leveraged. I look at this as more of an investment to seed fund some of these tactics, such as ASIS&T and information matters and that sort of thing, marketing campaigns, and that with a goal that we actually make them sustainable down the road at some point down in future time. But projects such as these things need to have the helping hand, and that's what the reserves are for. So I look at it as an investment. Another thing about the strategic plan is I don't want people to think that it's a document that's set in stone. It's open for enhancements. So let's say new opportunities are presented to the association, and we collectively feel as a membership and as a board that those ideas should be part of our strategic directions. We will incorporate them. So it's a kind of a living document, but it's also one that is firm and guides us over the next 5 years. So anyways, I look forward in moving the strategic plan forward. What I want to do during my term is to set up performance measurements of all the tactics and have an annual reporting structure, some sort of dashboard that keeps us on track to make sure that all those tactics are being carried out. And then if they're not, then we can interject early on rather than waiting 5 years from now. So that's it in a nutshell, what I plan to do in the next coming year. Basically implementing the strategic plan and making sure that it's looked after and that actions are being carried out in terms of the delivery of tactics. And I really look forward to Salt Lake City, our annual meeting in 2021. I know this year has been an online conference, and it's we've learned a lot, but I'm really hoping we can meet face-to-face, have more networking opportunities. But we've learned a lot this annual meeting in terms of how to deliver an online venue. So we'll definitely be carrying forward our learning from this year's conference or annual meeting in terms of delivering some sort of online mechanism for those who physically can't be in Salt Lake City next year. Before I conclude, I want to say thank you to Jim Jansen, who's agreed to be the chair of the annual meeting in Salt Lake City. I met Jim early on through my affiliation with ASIS&T, and that's one of the wonderful parts of being a member of ASIS&T. You make some really good friends that last throughout decades. Anyways, he's championed it. Thank you very much. The theme of that meeting will be information, equity, diversity, inclusion, justice, and relevance. So it's a very timely, important topic. I know Jim will do an amazing job, and thank you again. And there'll be tons of opportunities for the membership to get involved, to contribute to that annual meeting in terms of workshops, panels, posters, alternative events, etc. And again, I really hope we can physically meet in Salt Lake City next year. Last, I want to express my humble thanks for placing your trust in me. I know I said it at the beginning of my talk, but I really do mean it. I feel it's an honor to serve as president. I look forward to working with the membership, hearing from you, and importantly, ASIS headquarters staff, namely Lydia Middleton. I know I'm in good hands, and I think together we can work strong and implement our strategic plan to get us closer to the goal of being even a more influential and global information association. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Brian, and congratulations. I'd like to pass the gavel on to you. And joining you, I would like to invite everyone to please think about ways that you can contribute and work with Brian as we move forward with our strategic plan. We also sent condolences to him and keep him in our thoughts. So next, what I like to do is end with major thank yous, and then after that, we will be able to open the floor and have questions and have an opportunity to address anything that you would like to discuss. So Lydia?
Sure. So these are all the people that work behind the scenes to make a lot of this happen. Clara, do you want to lead the charge?
Sure. So starting off with the Awards and Honors Committee, it was chaired by Abebe Rarisa. And so you see all the different members there. And one of the things that is a lot of legwork from all the different members, because they also are in charge of a particular jury. And then we have the Governance Committee that began its wonderful work to steward and ensure that the work that we do is done smoothly and we can find policies and procedures to do so. And the Governance Committee was chaired by Heidi Julian. Then we have the History Committee, which was chaired by Catherine Labar, and she was also curator. So she did double duty in this particular role. And now we have separated out those particular activities. And so we thank her for that, doing the yeoman's work there. Then we have the Membership Committee, which was chaired by Iris Shiz. So thank you to her for the work and ensuring that we continue to look at ways to enhance our membership. Then we have the Nominations Committee, which was chaired by Pei-Ling Wang. And through the work that they did, we had very strong candidates, and we now have new leadership that is joining the board and working with us for the next 3 years. Then we have the Professional Development Committee, which was chaired by Crystal Fulton. And the work that they're doing is ensuring new ways that we can continue to engage as a community and really learn from not just our own expertise and strength, but also bring in others to be part of that conversation. Then we have the Publications Committee, which was chaired by Chirag Shah, as described by the forthcoming activities that will lead to new publications and in new ways for us to share our work. That was led by Chirag Shah, as I indicated, and so we look forward to many of the activities there. Then we have the Research Engagement Committee, and the Research Engagement Committee was co-chaired by Howard Rosenbaum and Panina Fishman. And they have been looking at different ways that we can be really highlighting the research that we do and be able to communicate that in different ways. And then we have the Standards Committee, and that was chaired by Mark Needleman. And as we know, this work is critical in ensuring that the work that we're doing is following particular parameters and to contribute to the development of those kinds of policies. And there is one more announcement, and so I'm going to have Lydia do that one, and that is an update on our JASIS editor, and to thank our current JASIS editor, and Javed Mustafa, and then Lydia, turn it over to you.
Thanks. So we have gone through an extensive search to replace Javed as editor-in-chief of JASIS. And many of you, I think, were contacted about suggestions for folks for that. It took us about 3 months to go through the process of inviting applications, reviewing applications, conducting interviews. I am delighted to announce that we do have a candidate selected. We don't, in fact, have a contract signed yet, so I'm going to give you a name, but with the caveat that we do not have a contract signed, although we do have agreement on both sides on the terms. And so I don't know if he's on or not, but congratulations, Stephen Sawyer from Syracuse University. who has agreed to be our next JASIS editor-in-chief. The transition will take place over the next 2 months, we hope. And so he will be in place starting in about January, February timeframe. We're going to do that transition. So if you're a JASIS author, hopefully you won't notice any delays in process, but we are going to do our best to make that transition seamless. And so you can look forward to working with Steve in the near future. Yes, Adam, please don't tweet that just yet.
Thank you, Lydia. Now I'd like to turn it over to you. We're happy to answer questions or have a conversation about a particular topic of concern.
I know there was one question that I caught in the chat as it flew by, and that was, I think from Ron, who asked where the new membership growth is coming from. And I can answer that. We give a lot of credit to the new Africa chapter for bringing us many new members in Africa. That chapter, which was spearheaded by a small group of ASIS members, and I will give a shout out to Abebe, who just posted. I'll give a shout out to him, who really got the ball rolling and lit the fire under a lot of folks to make this chapter happen. And I didn't do a recent count, but I want to say there are at least 80 or 90 people now in that chapter, which is really phenomenal for a chapter that's brand new. And they've already been up and running and putting on programming and webinars and so forth. So we've seen a lot of growth there. A lot of growth in the Arab nations. A lot of folks coming out of Iran joining, and Saudi Arabia and other places like that. So time to start thinking maybe about a chapter in that region, and getting that more structured going forward. So really exciting things happening globally. Certainly we see ongoing growth in the US, but we also see more lapses in our membership out of US members than we do out of international members. So that's an interesting phenomenon, that our global members are more frequently renewing than our US members. So we will be looking at that. And as Brian mentioned in his remarks, looking at membership campaigns to increase both retention and new joins. So that's what's going on there. I don't see any hands up yet. If you posted a question in the chat, it's scrolled by now, so either post it again. Timothy has a question. Read the distinguished member category. Will the attended 10 annual meetings include regional meetings? Yes, Timothy, it will. We have our member database is quite robust in terms of keeping track of every meeting everyone's ever attended. So we do have a record of that. So yeah, any meeting other than a webinar really will count towards attendance of those meetings. Any more questions? I feel like there was another question in the chat that I missed.
No,
Feel free to raise your hand. I don't see any hands up yet. And by hand, I mean the little blue hand in Zoom, not your physical hand, because we won't see your physical hand with this many people on.
Okay. So there's a question from Ron about how we volunteer for committee work. There is a call that is issued sometime early in the year. And so that is the one call that we make. However, don't hesitate to indicate that you have an interest by emailing Lydia or any of the board members, because we'll be able to pass that on. There are new opportunities that always come up, and we introduce those opportunities through our communications, whether it's open forum, inside ASIS, and so forth. But if we do know of your interest, we'll be sure to call on you. Even you might be writing to us outside of the regular responses to calls.
Claire, we have a question. Can someone describe in more detail what ASIS is? And since ASIS predated me, I'm going to throw that to you to describe.
Sure. So ASIS is this great publication that within each particular issue, then it's a literature review on a particular topic. And so it turns out that if you are interested in that topic, then it's that richness of a critical evaluation. So it's a critical literature review, condenses all this great, wonderful work in a particular area. And so it's referenced by many, many doctoral students, but also is the beginning of the work, if you're interested in that particular area, that then you can build on.
And Bebe asked, can I say a few more words about the new regional chapter structure? I'm happy to do that. So in about, I want to say June of this year, the board approved a revised chapter structure that was vetted through the chapter leadership and eventually through the membership. And we will be transitioning into that new structure over the next 12 months. Essentially, what that will look like is that we're dividing the world into 11, I believe, regions that, and we had some discussion the other day about whether or not the regions make sense, so we may revisit that. But 11 or so regions of the world, so that every area in the world is covered by a regional chapter. And then within those regional chapters, there can be local chapters that are active, but we want to be sure that every member of ASIS has a chapter structure around their area. And so, for example, with Africa is clearly already a regional chapter, no change there. No change really to the New England chapter, other than they'll pick up a few more states, South Asia, et cetera. Those will all remain pretty much the same. But small chapters like Central Ohio, which has been an incredibly robust and active chapter, will continue to exist, but within the context of I want to say it's a Midwest chapter or something along those lines that is the region. And so like the entire West Coast will now have a chapter representing it to bring back to life some of those active groups in the Pacific Northwest and Los Angeles. So this is something that's going to take us about 12 months, not 12 years, to roll out and make a reality. But we will be definitely, to answer Ron's question, among other things, we're going to need a lot of people to help us do this. A lot of people that are in the regions that aren't currently represented by chapters to step up and take a leadership role in some of these places. So we'll be reaching out to everybody in those regions as we get to that point, and inviting folks to step forward and volunteer for roles in these newly formed chapters. And we do have seed money available separate from the reserve fund that is money that was in reserve for chapters that have since gone out of circulation. I'll say they stopped functioning, and we've been holding that money in reserve. So we have seed money to get chapters up and running. So if a chapter wants to put on several, to the extent that you can right now, several local events in different parts of the region to gin up interest, that sort of thing, we will we'll have funds available to do that. All right, I'm going to get these questions in order. Let's see. Information matters. When will it be launched? We're hoping for a soft launch in spring of 21 and a full launch in the summer of 21. So that's coming up pretty soon. Oliver says, inform volunteers about committee member duties. I'm not quite sure what you mean, Oliver. Do you want to unmute and ask that question? Let me find you here.
I think he wanted to.
Hi.
Right.
Hello, everybody. I'm Oliver Chen. I am the chair of the Professional Development Committee. So we have a great volunteers and also members, they want to join. But I think because we are in a transition, lots of a reconstruction and also change the name of a committee. And right now, and this correct me, we are required, when I say the committees are required to have a bi-monthly meeting. And also we are the global organization. So those, in order to have a meaningful membership involvement and also encourage volunteers from different countries. And I just, this is very important to communicate. People want to get involved and want to contribute, and also to understand the, join the bi-monthly meetings, through Zoom, at least for right now. And I think this is a understanding, from the beginning, and people understand, they need to spend time to join online meetings. And I think this is also a challenge for, at least from my personal perspective, to coordinate, online meetings, 6 times a year, and make sure we can have everybody to join the committee meetings. So that's, from my experience so far, 3 or 4 months into the chairship, So I think this is very important. People want to get involved, but also we need to let them know, okay, this is what you need to do next 12 months. So I think that's something we need to communicate with everybody. Thank you.
Thanks, Oliver. And this is one of the great challenges of running a global association and striving for global involvement and engagement is that one can't bend the space-time continuum to make it possible for everybody to attend at a meeting at a time that is convenient for them. And so I always cringe when we schedule a meeting that is convenient for everybody on a committee except for the one person that's in New Zealand or the one person that's in Hong Kong or whatever it might be. It's very difficult. And so I think one of the things we may explore doing in the next 12 months is having at least one meeting a year at a time that's really uncomfortable for everybody in North America, 5 a.m. or something like that, so that we can ensure that all the members get to attend at least one meeting. But it's a challenge, as you might imagine, for everything, including our board meetings. We have board members that are on the phone at midnight and terrible, terrible times, and certainly presenters that have been on this meeting at terrible, terrible times. So it's one of the reasons why the 24-hour global conference will be an opportunity for folks to participate in their own comfortable time. But it is a challenge that we battle with every day.
So I wanted to add one point to what Oliver said or asked about, which is that apart from the committee members' duties, then one of the things that a committee does receive is charges, meaning what are the goals for the year. And so that helps to ensure that the work that the association needs done in the coming year will be available to the committee. And so there is a bit of a structure that allows the committee to do its work. And now, coupled with the strategic plan, I think it's even better for the committees because you can kind of see what's on the horizon.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a great point. Ashraf asked about the logistics of folks renewing and joining that fall into that developing country waiver category. As I said, Ashraf, we haven't quite worked out all the technicalities with the database yet. We will create a member join form that has a $0 dues amount for new joins. What we do with the renewals and how we do that just technologically with our database, I am working on figuring out. As I said, this was just approved by the board right before the annual meeting. So there's some things we haven't had time to mess with yet, but we should have that worked out within a couple of weeks after the meeting ends, which for staff is not until Sunday because we have all the workshops and tutorials still going on. But look for an announcement coming from headquarters probably around the beginning of the 3rd week of November about this, and we'll get it all working seamlessly within a couple of weeks for sure. Yeah, we have time for a couple more questions if anybody has one.
Okay. Since we don't, I'll start wrapping up, but if something comes up, we can also stop and take up that question. So as a way to wrap up, then we have begun wonderful conversations at this conference. And so we're not quite done yet because there are additional ways that you can continue this particular momentum. And that is, we have the closing plenary that will take place in a few hours. And so join us for that, where we'll be looking at the Sustainable Development Goals. And then right after the closing plenary, then we will be having a social. And during that social, we can continue to engage and have a toast to celebrate the conference that we've had, this virtual conference that has allowed us to connect across the globe. And then for those of you who are attending workshops, then that is going to continue, or for those of you who haven't looked at them, then you can see what opportunities are there. And then we will reconnect again to celebrate our award winners in December. And also we will have a past president's reception at that time. And so again, thank you so much to everyone. Everything is possible because we're working together, the different ASIS leaders with the staff and all of you as members. And so with that, I would like to adjourn this meeting, and let's continue to engage as a community and ensure that we make the world a better place and our community as rich as it could be. Thank you.
Bye, everybody. Thanks.
Bye, everyone.
Let you all unmute if you want.
Thank you, Clara. Bye.
Thank you.
Clara, thank you, Lydia.
Bye, everyone.
Bye,
Thank you,
everyone.
bye.
Thank you, Clara. Thank you, Lydia, for all your work.
Thank you, Naresh.
Awesome.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
I have thing. Look above the toaster.
All right. I saw 69 people on it at the Apex that I could see.
Okay.
It's pretty good.
Yes.
Oh, Nick Belkin was here. Hi, Nick.
It was 75 at one time of point.
Was it? Oh, good. Nick, I love that shirt. Hi, Nick.
Special for
There you are.
ASIS, I guess that's the right one.
It's nice to
Thanks
see
for the
you.
meeting. Nice
you,
to
glad you
see
came in.
everybody again.
Yes.
Yeah.
Glad you could connect.
Yeah. This is recorded, so we'll pop it up on our YouTube channel. And okay, one more hurdle and we're done.
Yeah.
Hey, Tony.
Hi, Tony.
I don't think Tony has audio right now. She must be able to hear us.
Okay.
Hey, Tony, you there? No, not getting there.
Hi, Ralph.
All righty.
Peace.
Oh, is Ralph still on?
Yeah.
Hi, Ralph. All righty. Well, I'm going to go ahead and shut down, I think.
Okay, sounds good.
All right. I'll see you at 5:30
you.
or 4:30. 4:30. All right.
I have it on my schedule.
Okay.
Okay, bye-bye.